Hello, Father.
Hello, my dear
Greetings.
daughter.
Happy Sunday.
Yes, happy
It's
Palm
Palm
Sunday.
Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
Yes.
We had pot roast today for dinner.
Oh,
So that was fun. Sunday roast, just like old times.
right.
Okay, so for this family video,
Yes.
I'm going to take you back a couple of generations on the Thoelen side of the family to give you some insight into our ancestry. I'm going to start with my grandfather. I could go back a little bit further, but I think his life is more interesting than anything I know about those that preceded him. My grandfather, Thoelen, was born in 1879. He was named Heinrich Wilhelm Thoelen.
Heinrich. What a
Heinrich, yes. He was the son of Friedrich Anton Ballmann, who married Anna Christine Elise Ballmann. Friedrich Anton Thoelen, yes, and Anna Christine Elise Ballmann. So they married, they had 5 sons, of which my grandfather was one of them.
And they were in Germany, right? They were.
And he was born in Bremen, Germany, which is near Bremerhaven, and that's up at the northwest part of the country near the North Sea. I don't know much, I really don't know anything about his youth, but for whatever reason, at the age of 16, he decided to come to America to presumably come to have a better life. And so, and he came alone. He came on a ship called the Sparendam, and the actual ship's record of him being on the ship and a picture of the Sparendam are available on the Ellis Island website, because he did come through Ellis Island. His name got Americanized in coming here, and the original last name was spelled T-H-O with the 2 dots above the O, the Umlaut as it's called in German, Tholen. There was no first E, but what they did is they Americanized it. They got rid of the Umlaut, the 2 dots, and they added the first E to the name, which is why it is not a common name to be found in this country. And if you were to go to the white pages and pull up all the Tholens, I pretty much can tell you, you know, who they all are. I have some documents to share with you, and this one, really neat, is from 1903, when he was granted American citizenship. This is his actual
That's so cool.
citizenship papers from 1903, state of New York, and it's dated January 15th, 2003.
No, 19.
1903, thank you, yes. Mom
Wow.
is here to correct my,
Historical accuracy. She's fact
yes.
checking.
Yes.
He, when he came to America, he initially settled in Manhattan. There were a couple of addresses in Manhattan. There may have been one in Brooklyn, but in 1920, he had a house built on East 2nd Street in Brooklyn, and lived there until lived the rest of his days there. And in that very house, my father was born. There were 3 sons. He married, well, let me back up a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself. He married in 1908 or 1909, and he married Gertrude Mary Fries. Grandma Thoelen, we of course called her Grandma, but all we ever heard her called was, you know, Mary by others, you know, her peers or whatever. So it wasn't until, might have even been after she passed away, that we found out that Gertrude was her actual first name.
And that she was male.
Oh yeah, another interesting fact, we have her birth certificate, and her birth certificate indicates she was male.
Great.
Very, very strange. All right, so,
Well, we thought
um,
Grandma's middle name was Louise, so.
yes. Well, Grandpa Thoelen and Grandma Thoelen had 3 sons. Harry, born in 1910. Frederick Anthony, born in 1913. And that name is significant because his grandfather, or my grandfather's father, was Friedrich Anton, if you recall me mentioning, and that translates to Frederick Anthony. So he was named after his grandfather. And then my father was the youngest of the 3, born in 1918. Okay, Grandpa Thoelen was a baker by trade. And so when he came to the United States, don't know exactly where he worked, but he worked and he worked hard and he saved his money. And his living the American dream for him was eventually owning his own restaurant. And so I've inquired about when he was able to start his first restaurant. Haven't been able to get a clear-cut answer. Have not been able to find anything via searches. But the consensus of my cousins and my siblings is that it was sometime between 1910 and 1915. This may not be the first one, but it is obviously a picture of one of the restaurants. And if you can see it, it says Tholen's Cafeteria on the front window. And he, again, he opened the first restaurant around 1910 to 1915. And on the very first day of the opening of the restaurant, we don't know exactly who, one of his good friends or whatever, came in and gave him this framed good luck,
Ooh.
this good luck frame, which has a horseshoe, a little American flag, which I'll have to count the stars. We could probably date it. If it has less than 48 stars, it would be prior to 1912. And if memory serves me, that's when New Mexico and Arizona were admitted. So if it's 48 stars, it was after 1912, and less than 48 would be prior to that. So there probably is a way we can date this. And then down the bottom is his first dollar. This is an 1899 dated silver certificate. Raise it up just a bit. There you go. And back then, the paper money was a lot larger than it is today. It was the size was reduced in 1928. So that's his first dollar from his first restaurant. Now he continued to prosper. His restaurants were very popular, and he opened a number of other locations. One of the things I know that the restaurant, what he was able to do to help him prosper, he secured the contract to provide lunches, food, etc., to the workers that were building the Holland Tunnel between Manhattan and Jersey City in the 1920 to 1924 timeframe. So obviously that helped him, and so he continued to buy properties, build restaurants, and I have a couple of things to share that are kind of interesting. This is actually advertising. Back in those days, people used fountain pens. So this is actually blank on the one side because it's a kind of like a cloth-based paper for ink blotting for the fountain pens. But you can see this is it's Tholen's restaurant. And if you notice down the bottom, there's like 9 locations. And
What does
these
that
are
say
all,
under Thoelen knows how?
yeah, these are all in Manhattan. And look at some of those addresses and what those properties, if they were in the
back it up
family, would
just
be
a
worth
tick.
today.
Back it up
Fifth
just a
Avenue,
little bit.
Sixth Avenue, Broadway. The most significant one is the third column on the right, look at that top one.
Cortlandt Street.
61 Cortlandt Street, which probably doesn't mean anything to you when you see that address, but you might know it better as #1 World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
So the towers were actually built on the site of his Cortlandt Street restaurant, which, as I understand from my father, that was considered his flagship restaurant, his headquarters, so to speak.
Oh, the fork.
Yes, and what we're holding now
Do you have a knife?
don't have a knife, but here's a fork and a spoon, tableware from the restaurants. I don't know if I can get enough light to show you.
Yeah, I can see Thoelen on the bottom one there.
Yeah, the bottom one, and it says they both have H.W. Thoelen.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. There it is. So these are a couple of tableware made by H. Friedman. Sounds like another good German name.
Yep.
Okay.
Pays to buy the best, right?
Right. It sure does. So
I want to show this picture of him.
I'll get
We have
there.
a picture?
Yeah, we'll have a picture. There are more, but for some reason I haven't been able to locate. I know I have a bunch of pictures of my grandparents with the 3 brothers. You know, my father and his 2 brothers. We weren't able to lay hands on them readily here. He sold his restaurant business. He sold out totally in 1929, and from what my father told me, he ran into a big problem with his workers because they had unionized and they were making demands and driving him crazy. And finally he said,
In true Thoelen fashion,
yeah,
he
he says,
said,
I'm
forget it.
sick and tired of telling people telling me how to run my business. So he sold the whole kit and caboodle
Sounds right.
and collected on that a couple of weeks before the stock market crash. So unlike many Americans who struggled during the market crash and the ensuing depression, my father's family actually did quite well during the Depression. He even continued to travel. Let's see, let me pull this out.
This is the Mason one.
Oh, then this is the one I'm looking for.
I
Yeah, the
think
other
so.
2 pieces of paper I have are this is the forerunner of a passport. These are like traveling papers.
Holy cow.
And this
They really made them
basically,
conveniently sized, huh?
yeah, in other words, it says, hereby request all whom it may concern to permit Henry W. Thoelen, a citizen of the United States, accompanied by his wife and 2 minor children, safely and freely to pass, and in the case of need, give him all lawful aid and protection. Now, this is from 1913, and that explains why it says 2 minor children. My father had not yet been born.
Right.
This crossing to Germany is also recorded on the Ellis Island site. I have found this information as well.
Huh.
And as a matter of fact, on that page, a real strange thing, it was indicated that my Uncle Fred was 11. And I said, wait a minute, that can't be right. He was the middle son. Well, back then, they were so detailed in their recording of the passenger list that they had a column for age in years and months.
Okay.
And they put 11 years instead of 11 months. And that's what I figured that out after a while. So this is 1913,
There's
but then,
also passport stickers on this, his American
Right.
citizenship.
but then in 1931, he had a passport, a regular passport, and
There's that red sticker again.
yeah, it's the red seal, but on the page, I don't know how well you can read it. There was some question when one of my father's cousins was doing a genealogy search about when he was born. Some had him 1877, some had him 1880, but this clearly shows that he was born in 1879.
Yeah.
And we also have other documentation that if you do the math, it tells you it was 1879.
Okay.
Not the greatest picture, but this is, whoops,
I got it.
this is the one we have.
We have others, but yeah, it's me.
So at this
There he
point, he was what, 52 when this was taken. And this
Good
other
old
piece of
Henry.
paper that just fell out is
Is that when he had to?
he did not serve, but this is actually his World War I enlistment paper.
Wow.
He
That's
did not,
cool.
he was already 40 something. So, and this was late, well, let's see, the war ended about a year later. This was June of 1917. But I think he registered, but I think he was exempted due to his age. He was already, well, he was 38 rather. So he was beyond 35. So that probably exempted him. I'm just gonna talk about two other things. He was involved in philanthropy. I mean, he was known for generosity, and
What are you looking for?
the ones you just put away.
No, it's this one, the Mason one.
Yeah.
That's this one.
Okay, he was,
Hold on. I want to rip it.
oh, you know what I forgot to bring down? The watch fob. I meant to do it, but we'll have to suffice.
We can have part two. You can
Yeah,
have
he was a Mason, and this is his, this is the document where he was made a master Mason.
Ooh. With a blue seal, Mom.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
this
see
is
that.
again the Grand Lodge of the state of New York, and this was in June of 1911. He went on to be to achieve the highest level of Masonry. He had both the 32nd degree, which is the highest, I guess, regular degree. There is an honorary 33rd degree, which I understand he did receive. And as part of that, he was given a very interesting watch fob, which is basically a sphere with 3 clasps, and it opens up into a cross. And each square of the cross, so to speak, is faceted and is faceted. So there's 4 sides to each segment, and each segment has a Masonic symbol. And I obviously don't know what the Masonic symbols are, but any Mason I show it to goes nuts when they see it and they want to buy it. So obviously it means a lot to them.
Mm.
Lastly, he was one of the first people wealthy enough to be able to own an automobile in Brooklyn. And a group of people that he knew, and I guess that he had befriended, and due to his generosity, they saw to it that he got an early license plate for that part of Brooklyn. And so the license plate that he received was J60. And if I understand that right, the J stood for the particular part of Brooklyn, and the 60 was the 60th plate issue.
Oh, wow.
Now, this photo is a little overexposed in parts, so I'm not even sure. I mean, the plate is clear, but I'm not sure you can see it on this. But there is a 1932 Studebaker.
And that was his?
And the license plate on it is J60.
That's cool.
All right. Given again that he had done well in the restaurant business, he had some nice cars. This is a, oh, this is another shot of that 32 Studebaker. You were getting like the front and a partial left view, but look at this baby. That must have been some car.
Look at this baby. Oh, and is that
with
great
the white walls and the continental spare and the spoke wheels? A lot of cars didn't have those features.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's it's Uncle, my father's brother, the oldest brother, Harry. He's at the wheel, or he's out. Yeah.
Oh, and look at his hat. Who's the one standing up? Is that him? Is that Henry? check out this car.
The other
Show
two,
Aaron the
I
car.
have to go.
the other two people, the woman and the other man that's standing behind the right side of the car, they do not look familiar to me.
Is it written on the
I'm
back?
pretty confident.
Alan,
Oh, Alan Jean Herzl. Okay,
Ah, the Herzls.
Herzls, whoever, my sister might remember. Yeah, Aaron, you gotta gander at this car. I'd love to have this car. Look at that thing.
Oh, he's coming down. Here, can you hold it at tiny close? I'm waiting for the camera to focus. It's kind of
Oh, look at
blurry.
that.
Look at that car. Isn't that cool?
It's a Ford,
That
right?
was my great grandfather's.
That's cool.
It's a 32 Studebaker. Studebaker President. It was the top of the line.
Wow.
Now you know why this family likes to have top of the line vehicles. We don't always get them, but
I was gonna
that's
say,
or this ink blotter with his
Oh.
motto and his
yeah.
signature.
Yeah, two other odds and ends here because I forgot to show them at the right time. This, yeah, this is my grandfather's brother. You know, he had 4 brothers. This is his brother Emil in Germany. And
another great name.
yeah, I'd have to, oh, it looks like this is like a grocery store or something that he and his wife had. So this is his brother Emil. And you can see there in Germany, look at the spelling of Thoelen
Yep,
with the
with
umlaut
the dots. Yep.
and without the first D.
Here, back it up just a hair. There you go. Stop. That's good. That's cool.
Yep.
Nice.
And then we have some others, but these are the ones we were able to lay our hands on. This is another, advertising type ink blotter and heralding my new lunchroom at 1151 Broadway.
Heralding.
And he has a statement on it and also his signature is on it, which is pretty cool.
My purpose has been to make this lunchroom a landmark of exceptional merit. Wow.
Henry W. Thoelen.
Very nice.
On his other one, he had a special dining room for ladies
Oh,
at moderate.
or being
prices.
segregated. He segregated the ladies.
I think the ladies might have wanted to be
Maybe.
private. I think there was something to that, yes, but maybe the ladies enjoyed having their own room. Who knows?
But then, see,
Talk about their husbands.
advertising is new, unique, artistic furnishings,
Oh,
arrangements, tempting, refreshing for noon hour lunch. Try it today.
wow. What an ad.
Yep. Thoelen knows how.
Yeah.
I think we might get booted in like a minute or two because I think we're.
All right, let me wrap up a couple
Okay.
of things real quick. The J60 plate, I'm going back to that. The J60 license plate has been in the family now for over 100 years. My grandfather gave it to my father, who had it until he passed in 1992. And then since we had nobody in New York at that point, it went to my cousin, Kathleen, who was Harry's daughter, one of Harry's 4 children, and they still have it to this day. So it's been over 100 years in the family.
That's awesome.
And lastly, I just wanted to say, unfortunately, Grandpa Thoelen died in September of 1952. Apparently, he had several heart attacks over the years, and the last one took him. And so he died just 3 months after I was born. So I can say I've been on his lap, but unfortunately, I never got to know him. And, that's the shame of it. I really wish I had been able to know him and spend some time with him. I'm sure he would have had some fascinating stories for me.
Yeah.
But we do have some other things from his, restaurant days. And these are cherished items that we will continue to pass down in the family.
Well, that was a lovely family history. We'll have to have Mom get the big Guile book out for her family history.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
Or we can talk about the gypsies. Maybe have Uncle Mac as a special guest.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. We'll have to
sure.
figure that out. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to get cut off. So I will talk to you guys soon.
All right, send Robert the link.
You're
I
still
will.
recording.